it's our decision up until close of business on November 5th. So we as a board can tell our citizens in advance and be responsible about it and set our parameters well in advance of recognizing we're going to take the results as they're stated on the Board of Elections website at a set date. And we as a board are talking about it and setting it way in advance. So it's not an emergency thing. It's not setting up any kind of huge big fire drill. We're saying well in advance. We're very aware that this is the state's agenda. We're being responsible about how we're planning for it. We're going to have results from unofficial, but results from Cook County as of the referendum information, and we as a board should just meet and be able to talk about what those results are on the morning of the 5th so that we can have some potential action or not. We may as a board choose not to have any action on the 5th. That's our choice as well, but we may want to have action and be able to have full control of that application versus leaving it into the hands of somebody at the state board.
To take into consideration the results of the referendum.
Correct.
I'd just like to ask, what difference does it make if it's on the agenda, if we want to withdraw it by the 21st of the month or thereafter? It seems to me that when I first thought about your comment last month, I was willing to go along with it, but it was 5 days later, we'll have the regular meeting. It seems to me that's plenty of time now to discuss it.
The 5 days don't make any difference to the state, and I'm not necessarily, I would much prefer us to wait the 5 days for the regular meeting. I'm not pushing that we meet the next day. The only reason we're meeting the next day is because that's mandated by the state. If Andrew Heckenkamp would be willing to hold the agenda until after our November meeting, it would be great.
I don't think that's correct.
Right. Again, my understanding is we're the sponsors of the nomination. We control, you know, if we want it taken off, they will vote to take it off, is what we're being told by Ted and Andrew Heckenkamp at the state. So I don't think that's the big issue. The other thing is I do want to have time to consider the results. I don't want to be rushing into a meeting at 9 a.m. I just don't see a reason to do that when we can do it at the following board meeting. The other thing is, as was said earlier tonight, is that we've had a lot of public input on this issue over a long period of time, and I think it all needs to be considered together. And I'm not going to rush off the following morning. I think we need time to consider it all together and how all the parts and pieces work. The referendum is only one tool we're using here for public input. I think we'll get a lot more public input and letters and comments and everything in the next couple months. So they should all be considered together. The other issue is the referendum question includes the school, whereas the nomination doesn't, which I've increasingly become concerned about because I think the results may be difficult for the board to interpret. I've had 2 people contact me saying, does a yes vote mean that you want the school in the district? Does a no vote mean you don't want the district? I think it could be difficult to interpret, and I'm concerned about that. I'm unable how we'll be able to interpret the results of a question that's not consistent with the nomination we have on the table. So I think that's going to be a problem. And again, I think, as I said, we need to consider everything, all the public comment we've had, and we received tons of input on this, and as you know, we've come down for this recommendation for certain reasons, and I think it all needs to be considered all together. At our regular board meeting.
Christy, I don't disagree with you. I guess my comment about the special meeting on the 5th is that that's not necessarily stopping anything. That's allowing us to, as a board, have a conversation.
Right.
And
I don't see a need for one at all.
You don't see a need for us to.
I think we've had enough conversations clear that, first of all, I will take issue with you, Trustee Lair, that to me, I think we have a very intelligent, bright, and informed residents in this community, and I'm comfortable that they can decipher yes and no between the district having historic district and not having one. So I think that your downplaying the referendum is not consistent with our community. I think that the American way is to vote at the ballot, and we have a general election. We're going to have the largest turnout in the history of Kenilworth, and the people are going to vote and tell us what they want. I don't know what the results are going to be, but to discount a referendum.
That wasn't at all what I said. I said,
well, no, yes,
people aren't sure if they vote yes what the intention is, what the meaning is, or if they vote no what the meaning is.
Call you.
I did, and that's what they asked me.
Trust me, this community can figure out a yes and no vote.
Well, frankly, I don't know how I would vote because of the same problem.
Well, I think I do.
Because of the same problem. If I'm voting yes, I'm voting for the school.
I'm not going to argue with you over that,
Okay.
But believe me, the residents of this community can figure out how to vote on that referendum the way they want to vote. And so that's something that we have to take very seriously, because that's going to be the majority of this community.
I was just looking at the resolution for the comment, the way it's going to be written on the ballot. It's not a resolution. And it's a little interesting to me how they came to these words, particularly when they're mentioning all lands and all structures, regardless of private or public ownership. I think that's going to cause some people to take a second and third look at it, the way it's written.
Well, that was I believe that's the way it was originally proposed, and then the Sears School District pulled out.
Yeah.
So, but that's their issue, not ours. Okay, we have
Just Mike. I guess my only quick comment that I wanted to make is I felt
one last comment.
I felt like at the end of the last meeting, when this conversation came up, we talked about this idea of a special meeting and the board taking the time to be able to impact and possibly pull that application on the 5th. We had a second on that motion. We had other trustees say they were in favor of it and they would vote in favor of it in September. And I think the audience, which was a larger audience than is here now, left with an impression that we would, as a board, hold a special meeting. And so I have a problem with us not necessarily going down that road at this point.
I do not think the audience left thinking we were going to have that. I think we made it very clear. The second was for the motion was withdrawn, and we clearly discussed that we needed time to think about this, what it meant, and wait till the deadline was over for referendum questions to be submitted. It was not clear at all, and I think it's a mistake to keep saying that the only way we can thoughtfully consider the results of the referendum is if we have a special meeting the next morning. I really object to that, because I think we can have a much more careful, thoughtful deliberation of those results if we do it 5 days later at our board meeting, when we've all had time to think about what they mean, and we meet as a regular board. We rarely have special meetings, and we have had emergencies come up in this village before. And again, we are sending the message to our community that this is some kind of a crisis that we can avoid if we meet the next morning. And I think that is the wrong message. I think we need to treat it the way we've treated all of the very important decisions we make that impact our residents.
I don't think that I certainly was not taking it as a crisis meeting, Trustee Basu. It was simply, I thought that they were going to interpret, the purpose of the meeting was to interpret the election results of the referendum, and then because the date being able to withdraw it from the agenda was the last day. That was the date, and so the crisis.
But what's the technicality of it being on the agenda if we ask to have it removed?
You're going to find out when you enter the federal circle, my friend. But that's up to the board. We've got a motion at the same time.
I would just like to make a comment that I was one that was saying that I would vote for it. But in the last 30 days, I've had a chance to think about it, and I've changed my mind in that view. Mainly because it's 5 days away from another meeting. That we'll have it regularly. And I just think it's unnecessary to have two special meetings within a regular meeting and a special meeting within 5 days.
Well, the motion was not to meet on the 5th of November and to defer the matter to the regular board meeting.
To the regular November board meeting.
November board meeting. I'm looking at October.
Is that
No,
Veterans
the village
Day?
board is on the. No, it's on the 10th.
Oh, because it's on the true day.
Yeah,
Okay,
Veterans
good.
Day is on the 11th, so it's November 10th.
Okay, sometimes that one moves.
Clerk Hastings, please call the roll.
Yes. Trustee Basu, your motion.
Yes.
Trustee Hughes, your second.
Yes.
Trustee Lair, second.
Yeah.
Trustee
Oh, excuse me, I'm
you
second.
second.
It was there. You're correct, it was there. Trustee Lair, your second. Trustee Hughes.
Yes.
Trustee Smetana.
No.
Trustee Terrell.
Yes.
Trustee White.
No.
Motion passes 4-2.
Thank you.